Welcome to the Cottrellville Township special meeting for Wednesday, October 12, 2022. It's beginning at 6:31 p.m. It's for the debriefing by UHY LLP, the Township Auditors for Cottrellville Township. We'll call the meeting to order. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Beth? Here. Mary Agnes?
Here.
Sherry? Here. Tom and Carl? Absent.
Tom was here an hour ago, or 2 hours ago, so he must have been, I don't know, should I try and call him or no? We'll let it go, I guess. We got enough people to vote where we have to do anything, if we have to vote on anything. Okay, the next agenda approval is for the special meeting that's for this purpose only. It's for the state of the financial condition of Cottrellville Township for the year ending March 31st, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion.
And I'll support. All in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. For those of you in the audience that don't know Mr. Paul Bailey and Mrs. Tammy Pitzer, they're both from UHI LLP. They've already passed out the financial statements for each of the board members. So now we'll let him and her begin their explanation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As you know, you contract with our firm to do your annual financial audit. We come in, spend about a week with you, go back, pull it all together, then come in and go over it with you. Overall, I think you're in good financial condition.
We're going to check the mic.
Okay. Again, we'll just briefly go over your financial statements. If anybody has any questions, stop us along the way. We'll try to answer them as we go along.
Right.
There.
Thank you, sir.
The audit report itself and turn in just past the table of contents. It says Independent Auditor's Report on the top, UHY. This is technically the only portion of the report that belongs to UHY. It's where a firm gives an opinion on whether your financial statements are presented in accordance with what they call general accepted accounting principles. And you have what they call an unmodified or clean opinion. That's what you're striving for. Once we got the audit done by September 30th, we had to send one into the Michigan Department of Treasury. And one of the first things they look at is what type of an opinion did you get. They're looking for that unmodified or unqualified opinion. If you read it, there's some changes this year. It's laid out a little bit differently, but basically means the same thing and says the same thing. The AICPA just changed the wording on it. They're always playing with something. So. On page 4, starts what they call the Mdna Letter. It's required to be in the audit report, and it gives the reader an overview of the township as well as some very summarized financial information. I'm not going to spend a lot of time tonight going over it because we're going to talk a little bit more detail than that, but it is required to be there. Again, it just gives an overview of some of the township. On page 8, we start getting into the financial statements themselves. Page 8, 9, and 10 are the commercial way of looking at Cottrellville Township. About 10 years ago, accounting standards changed whereby they not only wanted the traditional way governments reported, which we're going to spend most of our time tonight talking about, but they also wanted a commercial set of financial statements. And basically the difference is the commercial way records the book value of the building, all your vehicles, all your water and sewer lines, things like that, as well as any debt that you will have. And that's all reflected in this, what they call statement of net position. And if we I'm just going to go through it real quickly. First of all, you have your governmental activities and your business type activities. Really the difference is everything but your water and sewer fund is primarily in the governmental activities. And if you look over at the very bottom right-hand corner, if you were a company, you would be worth $6,522,360. Again, that's the book value. That's good. You're a positive. A lot of governmental units, that number is negative because they've promised a lot of legacy costs. A lot of pensions, a lot of post-employment health care benefits to employees that they've never funded. So probably, half or maybe more of our governmental units, actually, if you looked at their commercial way, they're actually in deficits because they have all these unfunded benefits. You don't have any of that. You don't have any of those benefits that accrue that you got to make up. So that's good news. Again, we'll spend most of our time talking about the traditional way governments have reported. Page 9 and 10, again, is just the income statement or the statement of activities on the commercial way. And if you look over on page 10, like the first column, 3 lines from the bottom, all your governmental funds would have been to the good $288,268, and your government in your business type would have been to the good $52,786. But again, on the governmental, the difference is when you buy a car. If you buy a $40,000 car, in a traditional way governments report, that gets expensed and it shows as an expense item. On a commercial way, it gets capitalized and depreciated over the life of the vehicle, maybe 6 years, 5, 6, 7 years. And that's kind of the difference between that. But enough of the crazy accounting. We'll turn to pages 11 and 12 and kind of talk the traditional way governments have reported for 30 or 40 years and the way you keep your books internally. This is your balance sheet or a snapshot as of March 31st, 2022. In the first column is your general fund. You'll see they had cash of $462,000. You'll go through and you'll see investments of $220,000, some receivables, taxes, other due from other governmental units, which is primarily state shared revenue that comes in after March 31st. Some prepaid expenses, items you paid for in fiscal 22 that benefit your 22-23 year of $11,272. So total assets of $792,903. Liabilities of accounts payable, $28,569. That's bills that come in after the end of the year that you have to pay. Some accrued expenses, basically payroll and payroll taxes of $10,388. For total liabilities of $39,357. They have done what they call deferred inflows or unavailable revenue. Basically, it's money that you don't collect within the 60 days. So governmental accounting standard says if it doesn't come in 60 days, you can't record it as revenue. It's a receivable, but you have to show it as kind of an offset. I wouldn't worry about it. Total fund balance then for your general fund at March 31st, 2022 is $726,112, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So and there's 2 classifications. They just pull that prepaid expenses out of there because you've already paid somebody that you can't reappropriate it for another purpose. So really your unassigned fund balance is $714,840 versus the $726. If you go right next to it, we'll talk about fund balance. Your fire fund, you can see your assets and liabilities, and I won't read each one of them, but they had a fund balance of $40,409 as of March 31st. Your garbage fund had a fund balance of $277,560. Your CARES fund actually has no fund balance. You'll see up above you had cash and what they call unearned revenue because the rescue money, until you spend it, it really isn't yours. They give it to you and you put it in a bank account, but you don't bring it into revenue until you actually incur the expenses. So that's probably going to be in the next couple of years as you decide what projects you're going to do and so forth. And that'll then start being reported as revenue. Other governmental funds we'll talk about in the back. All the other funds are grouped together into that column. Page 13 just kind of reconciles the commercial set of financial statements and the fund balance to what they call the net position. And you'll see it talks about capital outlay and a few things like that, but it just reconciles the 2 sets of financial statements. Page 14 is what they call your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, or your income statement. You'll see, first of all, your first column is your general fund. This year, taxes, you brought in taxes of $150,473, licenses and permits of $92,980. Intergovernmental revenues, which is primarily state shared revenues, of $371,063. You can see charges for services and interest. Total revenues, $659,203. Your expenditures there by major category: general government, public safety, public works. Total expenses this year were $449,000. You transferred out $1,200 to other funds. So for the year ended March 31st, 2022, your general fund was to the good $208,137. So very good year. Revenues over expenditures of $208,000. Fire fund next to it, you can see this year you brought in taxes of $122,292. The fire department, you had expenses of $125,000, so you had expenses over revenues of $3,141. The garbage fund, revenues, you brought in $193,183. You spent $191,961. So your garbage fund was to the good $1,222. Again, the CARES money or the American Relief dollars, there were no revenues and expenditures because you haven't spent it yet. And then the other column we'll talk about in the back when we get there. Again, on page 16, this reconciles your income statement to the commercial income statement. And you can see they were, at the very top line says, the governmental showed that you made $283,000. The commercial showed you made $288,000. So that's pretty close there. On page 17, are what they call your proprietary funds, your water and sewer funds. These operate similar to a business, and the long-term assets are recorded within the fund. There, you can see your water fund had cash of $522,000, some investments, accounts receivable, $129,000 there. For total current assets of $686,449. You have some restricted monies for paying off debt of $1,201,000. Your capital assets, the water and sewer infrastructure, the book value of $3,007,235 for total assets of $4,895,238. It then lists your liabilities, accounts payable of $91,770, some accrued expenses of $98. And then your contracts payable for your bond issue to the department, DPW, the current portion of $200,000 and the long-term portion of $1,125,000 for total liabilities of $1,416,868. That left your net position or your equity of $3,478,000. You don't have that much in cash. You can see here if you pull the net investment in capital assets out, less any liability, less the long-term debt owed of $2,148,000. In the restricted portion of $735,000, your unrestricted or your available money would be about $594,000. That's kind of, if you had to do a project, you'd have just under $600,000 to, $600,000 to do a project. If we just slide across, the sewer fund, that same number is $467,000. So there, and you can see the assets and liabilities there. I won't read each one of them for you, but again, this is a commercial set of financial statement. Now, if you turn over to page 18, this is your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance or your operating statement. This year, your charges for services for your water brought in $585,365. It then lists your operating expenses, salaries. As you know, the majority of the water fund is the purchases of the water of $417,000, some contracted service expenses of $91,000. Their total operating expenses of $649,473. So you actually had an operating loss of $64,000. But that includes the depreciation of the system. So if you added back that $96,000, you actually would have been about $30,000 to the positive without the depreciation number there. And then list the non-operating revenues and expenditures, interest earned, some special assessments, and your interest on your bonds. The change in net position was $98,973, which is basically the depreciation that expense of $96,000. You add those together, it was almost a break-even year when you bring that back. Your sewer fund this year brought in $318,000. You can see your salaries there are $27,000, the sewer cost of $59,000, contract services of $39,000, total expenses of $166,000. So your sewer fund was to the positive $152,266. You had non-operating expenses of $507, so they were to the good $151,759. So pretty good year for the water fund. Page 19 tries to say, tell you whether you had more in your bank account than you did the year before. And if you go about halfway down the page, there's a line that says net increase, decrease in cash and cash equivalents. You'll see your water fund, actually, the cash was down by $79,000. Again, some of that's timing of when you pay bills and when money comes in. But really, if you just look at your bank account, or it was down $79,000. The sewer fund was up $95,000. So, when you put them together, it was about $16,000 to the good. Over on page 20 is what they call your custodial fund. It's basically your tax collection fund. There's not much in it at the end of March 31st, as the treasurer knows. When money comes in, you clear it out there. About $15,000. It's in and out. But you can see the amount of money that goes through that you owe to other governmental units, $3.8 million. So there's a lot of money flow through the fund, and that doesn't include your portion. That just includes money you collect for somebody else. So pretty large amount of money goes through that area. Starting on page 21 gets into the notes to the financial statement. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. They're pretty boilerplate. It gives the reader a lot more information on the township and on your finances there. So we'll just kind of, they are required there. Over on page 34, just gives you some more detail on your general fund. It lists your original budget that the board approved, the amended budget that you finally amended it to, and then the actual numbers, and any variances from the amended budget to the actual by department versus in the front. It was a little more summarized. This gives you a lot more. And you can see in most cases, your amended budget was pretty close to your actual. There wasn't any major variances there. So that's good. On page 35, you do the same thing for your fire fund and your garbage fund. Shows your original, your amended, and your actual. And again, you can see the variance columns were very close to what the actual numbers come out as. Page 36 gets into your combining balance sheet. These are the other column in the front. There's 4 funds: your Cherry Beach lighting, your parks fund, your police fund, and your road fund. You can see the cash that's in each one of them, the taxes receivable, less the liabilities. The Cherry Beach actually had a fund balance as of March 31st, the first column towards the bottom, $331. That's your carry forward into the current year. Your parks fund had a fund balance of $68,458. Your police fund, $47,798. And the road fund, $125,126. And if we turn to the next page, 37, this is your combining statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, or your operating statement for those funds. You can see at Cherry Beach, you brought in $1,379. You spent $2,277. You transferred in $1,200. So with the transfer in, the fund was set $302 to the positive. The Parks Fund, up above, you brought in $19,180. You spent $6,912. So that fund was to the positive, revenues over expenditures of $12,268. Your Police Fund brought in taxes of $16,541, and there was no expenditures added to your beginning fund balance of $31,357. Left the fund balance at the end of the year $47,798. Your road fund this year brought in $69,419. You spent $21,220. So they had revenues over expenditures of $48,199. So again, pretty good year for all your funds. On 38, 39, again, just shows the original budget, the amended budget, and the actual, and it goes into over on 39 for the police fund and the road fund. Page 40. In your water fund, there's basically 3 funds. You use 3 funds to account for your water fund. You have your operating fund, your District 2 fund, and your District 3 and 4. That's kind of what this page is all about. We really kind of already talked about it in total, but this breaks it down by the fund there. That's a real quick synopsis of the numbers. Again, I think you're in excellent financial condition. There, I think you can see that by the numbers. Especially your general fund had a very good year. Any questions on the numbers that I can cover at this time or anything?
Got here a little late, but everything looks good, everything's going good.
In the back of your report, there's a couple letters that we have, I'd like to just kind of briefly cover. The first one's called the Report on Internal Control. When we do an audit, as I've explained in prior years, not only do we test the numbers, that we make sure what you say you have in cash, does the bank agree that's how much you have in cash? Payables, is that the list of bills that you owe people, things like that. But we spend a lot of time looking at your processes. Is there good checks and balances? When you write a check, is there 2 people required to see them before they go out? When you do payroll, is there 2 people looking at those checks? Things like that. If we become aware of any weaknesses, we're required to communicate it to the board. This year, we just have a couple of them. The first one just talks about bank transfers and some investments could be strengthened. There's now, banks have a process when you transfer money. Most banks now have a process where you can make mandatory 2 people have to sign off because, right now the treasurer's office names on the bank accounts theoretically could walk in and transfer money without somebody else doing it. These new processes that they have in place are pretty good, and if you can get it so that, if somebody wants to transfer $100,000 to buy a CD or something, it takes 2 people, or vice versa. It just puts a good checks and balances on the system. Not that there was any problems that we noted, and that's what we're kind of talking about there. On the next page, on the back of when we were talking about the audit report, when I said the water fund was made up of 3 funds, there seems to be some misclassification between the District 2A and the District 3 and 4 that's been there for a number of years. I know somebody was...
Maryland's working on that.
is looking into that. It's a big project, but, we do encourage that because one of the things with, bond funds is there's leftover money. It can only be limited to 5% or you got to refund the money. So I think eventually you've got to figure out why that, the back and forth there. And then the third one there is a technicality that I've explained in the past. Back when Enron was going on, the Accounting Society came up with this crazy idea that no matter what size a entity is, that they should have somebody on staff that could draft these financial statements and all the notes to the financial statements. Your business, you run the township. We do the accounting and help you do that. But the ICPA looks at it as a kind of a weakness to your system because you're relying on us to help you do that. We specialize in doing governmental accounting. Tammy and I spend all of our time with governmental and nonprofit accounting. So we're pretty diligent on making sure that all your notes that you're required. So it just isn't cost feasible for anything. But we have to put it in that letter just to tell you that's there. There's a second letter, an audit communication letter that's attached. This kind of just talks about the audit process, whether we have any difficulties along the way, and we schedule the audit. We come in and do it when your staff is ready and when we can accommodate back and forth. And we work very well back and forth, not only during the audit, but throughout the year. I know you contact Tammy quite a bit, and me sometimes. Pretty much Tammy, and if she wants my help, she yells at me to make me get doing something. But this letter just kind of talks about whether there was any areas there. It goes on to talk about estimates in your financial statements. A lot of times people think when we do an audit that every number is right to the penny. Well, we don't check every single number, as well as there's some estimates. The only big estimate in yours is on the commercial set of financial statements and in the water and sewer funds, how long assets will last. So like I talked about that car, will it last 5 years, will it last 10 years, and you're depreciating. Nobody knows. It's based on how many miles and how you do. We also kind of put in there just how much of your bank deposits are FDIC insured, and you have a pretty good chunk of yours insured compared to a lot of governmental units. Of $2.9 million, $1,154,000 is FDIC insured, with the remainder of it not. It's still a big number, and I wouldn't, really worry that much about it. Because you can only, as you know, have $250,000 per bank, and it's pretty cumbersome to spread it enough to get FDIC insured. I always say just, when you're picking a new bank, kind of look at their financial stability. There's ratings out there on the internet that you can look at, star ratings, and make sure it's a 3 or above in a star rating. And that's probably the best you can do.
Paul, you also take care of St. Clair Foundation, don't you?
Yes.
And they've got millions of dollars. What do they do with their extra money? Same
Well,
thing?
they have a lot of it, a lot of it isn't in bank accounts. because yours is in bank accounts and stuff, they're involved in the stock market heavily. So
Oh, I
most
don't
of
wanna
their
play that
money,
game.
you can't be involved in that by law, by
No.
state law. They have investment, first of all, an investment committee that oversees all their investments, as well as investment advisors and brokers. So probably 95% or even more is in, some type of bond, stock, things like that, that municipalities can't be, because they're a nonprofit, they can be. Just the second page just talks about, difficulties, with management, we didn't have any difficulties. There is a new paragraph in there this year about, the issue with the application being stamp paid. We just had to put that in there, that during our audit would come to our attention. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Corrected and uncorrected misstatement, we, propose a number of entries. It has been going down the last couple of years. We encourage that. Your accounting system is getting better, so that, that's good. GASB 34, we just help convert from the way you keep your books to that commercial way. Disagreements, where there's no disagreements with management. Management rep letter, after you're done, we always give you a letter that says you don't know of any number that's not properly reflected in the financial statement. And that's been standard practice since I've been doing this there. The rest of it's pretty standard there. The only other thing is on the very last page, if we because we do 50 governmental units out of our office, probably, if we become aware of a few things that we don't think are major weaknesses in control, but could just tighten things up or make the process better, we put them here. And here, just a couple areas, just the approval for journal entries, making sure that they're looked at by two different people, there. And then, just the capitalization for capital assets is $1,000. You might want to consider increasing that to $3,000 to $5,000, and it's what you got to keep track of and depreciate. And a lot of people, because of inflation and everything, starting to bump that up to $2,000 or $3,000, and in that way you don't have to, keep track of them. The governmental associations believe that only large items should take the time, need to be tracked and depreciated. The rest of it can just be expensed when you buy it. And so that's what we're just suggesting you think about that. Not a weakness, just something you might want to think about. Overall, that's your financial area. I think financially you're in good shape.
Looks good, thank you.
Now, I know there's, Mary Agnes asked us about, there's been some question, with the letter that some of the employees gave to the board, what our part of that was. And I got a letter here just for each of you, just so you know that. One of the things when we're doing an audit, the state of Michigan publishes a manual, an audit manual that CPA firms have to follow. And if, while we're doing the audit, we become aware of something that we think somebody could consider as fraud or what they call irregularities, we're immediately required to call the Michigan Department of Treasury. Okay, so when we were provided that letter, first of all, we read through it and tried to make sure that it was factual as much as we could. Because we don't know we're not lawyers, what's considered fraud and what's considered not. We're required to contact the Department of Treasury. And part of that reason is because they may want their people to look at something. A lot of times, though, because we do a lot of government units, they'll just tell us to continue with the audit. So we contacted the Michigan Department of Treasury, did a preliminary report to them, kind of talked about the process, and talked about what we thought we were going to do with the audit. Because when you're doing an audit, if something comes up that maybe raises the back of your hair a little bit or something, we have to do extra.
Even as minute as it turned out.
What's that?
Even as minute as it was just minute. I mean, it was just minimal.
We got to be careful. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Materiality does come into play, but we got to make sure it's not something of a larger piece. So what we did, we talked to the Department of Treasury, talked about what we were planning on doing, and basically what that was coming back and interviewing each person that's name was on that letter. First of all, to make sure that they agree with what was said in the letter, and then, was there any other things that they were concerned about? And Tammy came in, sat down with everybody, we did that. back up one step, the Department of Treasury thought that was a good idea and that was a good process to do, as well as sit down with Mary Agnes on the process too and talk to her about it. And they thought that was a good step, and that was a thing to do. We talked about some of your other controls, and you need two people to sign your checks, as I kind of went through, and things like that with the Department of Treasury. And then after that, we were required, they wanted us to follow up with them and go through that and tell them, was the letter accurate, and did the people suspect or have any other concerns? And basically, we did not find any other concerns other than that one, application. And at that time, the Michigan Department of Treasury, said, well, we're not going to do anything more with that there. After that time, shortly thereafter, we got a call from a detective. So there is somebody else still doing some work, on this, so I can't say that. But that's kind of the process, what we're supposed to do. And I got a letter here that kind of explains what I just did. I'll give to you. But what happens is one time we waited a little bit of time to contact the Treasury because we were gathering facts and stuff, and the Treasury Department kind of slapped your hand and said, no, as soon as you become, we want to know, because we want to kind of direct where you go with it. And we've worked with them on a number of different issues over the years. Some turn out to be nothing, some turn out to be something more. But we're not legal people, we're accountants, we're the number crunchers. And we just have to follow their manual of what we're to do in order for them to accept your audit report. Because like I say, this audit report is for the board, but it is also for the Department of Treasury for their oversight on the township. So that's kind of the synopsis of where we're at.
So as far as the state of Michigan, they're fine,
Well, yeah, what they said, unless something else come up, now if the detective found, something that he thought, would they get back involved? Yes, as far as I know.
but at this point it's just dropped.
That's what he told me at the time now.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Okay?
I
Well,
think
we appreciate, all the courtesy while we're doing the audit. Tammy, I know she didn't talk much tonight. It's her birthday, by the way. So, she actually told me for her birthday, I had to do all the talking tonight. Probably get stuck with a drink on the way home. We do appreciate all the cooperation and everything as we're doing the audit.
well, a lot of this responsibility is due to that young lady that's sitting behind you. She has been a godsend to us. She has straightened out a lot of things that, what do we have, 4 journal entries?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
getting them in pages for you, put like a book.
It's a market improvement,
Yes.
from probably the last 2 years, I would
She's done,
say.
yeah.
So
She's done a very good job.
She's done a very good job.
So,
We've been very blessed.
well, thank you. It's a pleasure to work for you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll each give you a copy of this letter. So you have
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Too much. All right, is there anything else that, any public comments? We only had 2 public, but no? What about board member comments? Anything anybody else wants to add about this
Nope, I'm happy with that.
wonderful statement? This is good, thank you. All right, well then I guess we'll move to adjourn at 7:05. We have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
All right,
second it.
and we have a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned for this evening, thanks.
Thank you.
The other meeting will be following directly after 7:30 begins. All right, we'll call to order the Cottrellville Township regular meeting for October 12th at 7:30. 1, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call attendance, please.
Bev? Here. Mary Agnes?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Sherry? Here. Carl absent.
Okay. We have agenda approval. I have a couple of things I have to add. The first thing is request by Deputy Treasurer Nicole Hart to attend an MTA Deputy Treasurer and Treasurers Conference on Tuesday, November 29th in Gaylord. There's also an request for approval for them to close the treasurer's office on election day due to the election. And the 11th thing under new business is request approval of the audit as presented to us to the Township Board by the auditors a few minutes ago for a receive and file designation. And I think that's all I have to add. So I need a motion to approve. And I need a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. All right, the next item is our consent agenda, which consists of special meeting on September 7th, and the minutes for a regular meeting on September 14th, the approval of the township's, or the treasurer's reports, reconciliation tax account for August, as of August 31st, reconciliation of the general checking as of August 31st. There's a cash summary report by General Fund for August 31st. There's also Cottrellville Township investments report as of August 31st. In the clerk's department, we have the revenue and expenditure report beginning September 1st and ending September 30th. That's 22 pages long. It's approval of the paychecks, payroll dates from September 1st through September 30th. Gross total amount of $28,116.87, and they consist of paychecks number 3228 through 3250. Another item under 3C is approval of accounts payable, $1,777.88, open to be paid through August 1st through August 31st. A $71,073.13 compilation of checks, a total of 30. Check numbers 21,398 through 21,427. Also, item number 3 is 5 tax disbursements in the amount of $1,914,183.36. In a combination of all of the above, which is a total of 35 checks, grand total of payables and tax disbursements for $1,985,256.49. We have correspondence from the Marine City Fire Authority for the runs for September, and we have the Ira Township Fire Department runs the area that they protect us in for the September as well. So, we also have, under new business, no, we don't need that, we're good. All right, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda and approve paying the bills?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I need a second.
I second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye, please, by roll call vote.
Tom?
Yes.
Mary Agnes?
Yes?
Bev? Yes. Sherry? Yes.
Carl's
Carl's
absent.
absent.
Motion carried, thank you very much. The next item is an open session for anything that appears on the agenda. You can speak at this time. We ask you to appear at the podium so that people from home can see it from their television, on their television. We want to hear both the question and then the answer from whatever board member you're directing it to. No one wants to talk?
About what you just discussed?
About anything that's on the agenda that you have in front of you, both sides. You got something on the agenda that you want to discuss?
You do have unfinished business on here. And I still would like to know what you're doing about what I call the junkyard.
Yes, ma'am, we are aware of that, but that's not on the agenda, so We
That's
can,
unfinished business.
we can bring it up at the end there. Okay. All right,
At the end of this,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because of the beeping in my ear here.
There's another public comments at the end
At
of
the
the
end.
meeting. You do it for that.
Okay.
all right.
But I'm not pulling away.
I think it's 7:36. All right, the next item is unfinished business, results of the bid opening for the electronic sign for the front township hall. Tom, did you get a chance to go through that?
yes, I did look at it.
Okay, did you have a recommendation?
They should do it a lot cheaper.
Well, other than
It's not,
that,
it's not an option, no.
well, I would go with the smaller of the two signs, unless you
I
think,
do have something to say about that.
I'm sorry,
I do have something to say about that.
this?
Yeah.
Signs.
For a
Okay,
township
all right, would you please go back up then?
For a township that claims they're broke, this is ridiculous, these prices. And for what? For a sign in your yard or in the township yard?
Thank you. All right, so I think the smaller sign would be the better, unless you guys want the bigger sign, I don't know, I would say,
Well, in answer to your thing, this is money from the Biden administration giving out to all the townships, am I
Money.
right so far?
yep,
To improve our townships. It's not money coming out of the general fund, it's money coming from Washington. If we ever
Money
want
coming from Washington to improve the township.
to do improvements for the general township,
I can think of a lot of ways.
and we're working on
to
other
improve
ways
the
too.
township.
And I'm with you, I'm with you. And we do have other ideas that we're gonna put out there too, but there's still a lot of money left in this fund. If we're ever gonna have a sign, now would be the most financially opportune moment to do it, because it's not coming out of our general fund.
Tom,
And-
I've seen everybody in the area having a sign like that. Everyone. It goes all the way into Marysville and down to Algonac.
Oh, I like the idea of the sign, I just can't stand the idea of $40-some thousand for it. But if we're gonna do a sign in the future, now would be the most opportune time to do it, because it's not coming out of our general fund.
we would never write money out of your tax fund for that, I mean, that would be misuse of funds.
And
But
it-
when they're giving it to you and you don't have a choice,
And-
I mean, if you don't use it, you send it back. Why
And
would
then-
you want to send the money back?
And it's
I
not,
wouldn't want to send it back, but I could find other things in the township.
we're still working on that yet too, there's still a lot of money in there.
Isn't there stipulations of what
Yeah,
can be sent?
there is.
There's stipulations of what you can spend it on, but we're working on other ideas too besides the sign. And if we're ever gonna put a sign up, now would be the time to do it, because we have the money
I
to
have a
do it.
suggestion then on that. Get the amount and what the stipulations are on it out to the people and let them decide. After all, we're all Cottrellville Township, right?
Well, we've been talking about it for, 3-4 months now, and
Oh, yeah.
this is about as many people as we get at a meeting, and no one's come up with any ideas,
This is a lot of people that we've
Yeah,
had. We went
so
6 months with nobody in the
And
audience.
this is one of those thankless jobs.
Well, let me tell you some of the things I've been hearing. There's no sense of going to those township meetings because they're gonna do what they wanna do anyway, irregardless of what any of us say.
Yeah, but you know what the best thing to do for
But
that?
if you don't do anything, it's gonna continue just the way it is.
You know what? I look for more volunteers to do stuff, and my Parks and Rec has nobody. The Historical Society has had to dissolve. I mean, we've just got all kinds of things that you could volunteer to help, and we could use some of that stuff for that reason. But, you know, you gotta be,
There's no help, there's nobody who wants to get
Yeah.
involved.
I mean, it's just like some of the
It's even
businesses, we
like-
can't even get people to show up for work.
It's even in the business world, you can't hire anybody.
Nobody
There's
wants.
no one wants to get involved, or no one wants to do anything. So, best thing, 2 years, if you could find somebody to take my place, I'd love it.
We don't wanna get rid of you, there's others we do, but no, we don't get
Tom, can you elaborate on the sign, what it would be, like a walking sign, or all digital?
It's all digital, and you guys are gonna have to keep track of me if I say something wrong, but
Well, they got one for City Hall, where they announce when their water bills are due, when their taxes are due,
you gotta
anything
watch,
online.
you gotta watch, you don't put too much on it, because people will be stopping in the road and we'll have accidents out here, but
No.
Ira Township's got one down there too.
Yeah, Clay
On
Township.
29, you'll see them here and there. Like I say, they have to be patrolled a little bit, that was my other concern too, not to put too much on it, that people can't have time to read it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you want your, like, emergency meetings, sometimes we have to have a meeting that you have only 18 hours to post it, okay? If we post it on the window, who's gonna see that on Marsh Road driving 55 miles an hour down the road?
And that's
And
why
so-
I would go with the bigger sign, because guys like me need bigger letters.
Bigger letters, okay. And then when I used to have a sign that my husband built that we put up for, when we'd have an Easter egg hunt, when we'd have the Christmas, sing-along, when we had the picnic annual picnic for the
Well, even
for the
if you put a
public.
billboard out there, it doesn't catch people's eyes either. If
Yeah.
it's an illuminated sign in position the right way, people can read it from both sides.
Yeah, if
It
we've
is
got,
both sides, right?
sometimes just, yes, it's
Okay.
sometimes even just to get you to come to vote. Remember, Tuesday is voting day. We put that up the day before, and then we can have, people can see that, don't forget to vote. You know, you get busy in these times now, and,
Check with Mdna.
no, that's not a state highway.
It feels really cold out today. Oh yeah, the sign says it's 32.
All right.
But anyhow.
Mrs. Jones, if you
that's-
want to give me a list of your things that you want to talk about, I'd be happy to sit down with you and go through them.
I was gonna hit you up yesterday, but I had other things going on.
Well, call and make an appointment, because I have so much going in my office all the time that, you know, and I have meetings, and then, you know, people have to be met in the cemetery because they're dead, and they're trying to set up funerals, and all that stuff is all my responsibility too, you know. So, but if you wanna, give me a list, and sometimes just getting 2 or 3 people together talking about it will generate more ideas. I mean,
I
that's,
would like the list of what's Biden's money can be used for.
okay, well, it's gotta be something that'll benefit the entire township. We can't put in a water line, because all it's gonna benefit are the people on 2 sides of the road. We can't, put a bridge over the St. Clair River, because that would take care of everybody. But
Would
these
be
are,
happy if the speed would just slow down
I know.
on River Road.
I'll tell you, Mr. Roberts has worked very hard on that, and I have helped as much as I can, but we've just got a couple of people in the state level that just don't want to cooperate. They don't even want to listen to what we have to say, so.
This is only gonna get worse with them widening 26 Mile Road, because when they get to the end, where are they going?
Well, they gotta either go north or south.
Exactly,
It dead ends at King.
exactly. Well, it tells me they're gonna hit River Road, and it's only gonna get worse.
Okay, well, like I say, 26 Mile Road is something is long range, 10 years at least. I probably won't be alive in 10 years, so.
They're telling me they already have the money for it.
Well, the county does, yeah, it's the county money.
They told me that 20 years ago, and
Well,
I
they
didn't.
told us that too when we first moved out here, because of the distance we had to drive, and they're going, oh, that's gonna be 4 lanes.
They don't even have natural gas down 26 Mile Road in a lot of places, so
Yeah,
4 lanes is, I think, off in the future ways.
yeah.
Maybe not.
I don't know, it doesn't appear on the plan that they have, the most recent plan that I said, that it's gonna stop. And now they wanna put turnarounds and, what do you call those? Roundabouts too.
Michigan turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know how they're ever gonna turn a gravel train around on a turnaround.
You know, go down into Palms and Gratiot.
Yes?
See all the tire tracks right over the top of it, because I don't even try anymore.
Oh,
You
God.
can't make it around there.
No,
Yeah,
it just,
just no
when you
way.
got 48-foot trailer, how the hell do you do that?
You don't, you just
In
go over the
Michigan
top.
weather, it is stupid, because.
It slows down traffic.
Yeah.
It does do that.
Roundabout, I slid right through that thing in the winter. I
Wherever
tried to
Britt,
stop.
We're way off course and I haven't had dinner yet, so
Yeah.
let's get back to the
I guess we'll
meeting.
get back to what we have to do here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Are you all set then? Will you call and make an appointment with me then?
Yes, I know.
All right, okay, that'll be fine. All right, so are we going to do something about a sign, or are we going to send the money back? I guess is what my,
Oh, we're not sending the money back.
okay.
Out of the question.
Well, if you need a motion, I would recommend that we use the low bidder for A, which would be Phillips Sign and Lighting. The quotation is $36,463.42.
I'd go with Phillips, but I'd go with B.
You want to go with the bigger sign?
Absolutely, if we're gonna put one up.
All right, I'll withdraw my
Let's put one
my,
up, that way everybody can see.
motion, and would you exchange it for Tom to
Yes.
make that? And I'll support him then. Okay, you want the $42,913.96. Is that correct, Paul? Tommy?
I want the 41 by 87, but yeah, then we have to pay the 42,913. Sorry.
Did you get all that, my dear?
Yes, I did.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any further discussion?
Well, wouldn't it be 42,162 on B by bidder one? You're gonna save 800, almost, 7 something.
No, bidder 2 is the cheaper of the two bids. Hardy and Sons is 45,000,
Oh, okay.
and then
Okay.
Phillips is 42,000.
All right, all in favor of this motion for the $42,913.96, sign quotation number B from Phillips Signs?
Bev,
Yes.
Mary Agnes,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to request the approval of policies and procedures for 2202. That's a policy regarding dishonored payments. There was a couple of things that Bev wanted changed. We have altered it again. So if you're happy with the way it appears now, I would like the motion for approval of the dishonored payments.
Wow, it's pretty far down there.
I make a motion that we approve the policy for the dishonored payments.
Okay, and I'll support. All right, all in favor signify by roll call vote, please.
Tom,
Yes.
Mary Agnes,
Yes?
Bev,
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
Carl's absent. Motion carried. All right, the next item is new business. This is the request for approval for the KCI cost of preparing the December tax bill for the total of $1,453.15, and that includes postage in the amount of $878.15. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call vote, please.
Bev,
Yes.
Mary Agnes,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Sherry, yes. Carl's absent.
motion carried. The next item is a request for payment for repairing sewer station number 1, including pulling the seized pump, repairing it, and bringing it back and setting it back into place. The total for that was $1,674.50, and it will be payable to Kennedy Industries. It's a sewer pump.
Sounds awful reasonable.
It was. It's an old, was it a
Hard to get
McCormick or
parts, yeah.
International?
They didn't even know they get parts for the damn thing last time.
I
I
know,
didn't even know about this.
yeah,
I'd make a motion to pay them.
and I'll support. All in favor signify by saying aye, please, by roll call.
Bev,
Yes.
Mary Agnes,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
motion carried.
Is the
Request-
sewer- Just a little side note, is the sewer repair in process, the work starting up there on the river?
It will not be starting till after the holidays.
Okay.
And we've got letters going out to the people that are gonna be involved, if they wanna extend, if they're only gonna do the mains. If they wanna extend it down their house lead to their building, You can contact that company and they'll give you a price and you can pay it direct. While they're right there, they won't be paying for a mobilization charge or anything extra, so it'll be more reasonable
Sweet deal
for them.
for them.
It's a great deal, yes.
Thank you.
The next item is number 4, ambulance contract between Cottrellville Township and Tri-Hospital Medical Services.
You bring number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed number 3. Here, I was getting to Mr. Cummings too fast. All right, number 3 is approval for me to sign the request for the local millage for the St. Clair County Parks and Recreation. They want to send us $17,444. Paperwork is completed. All I have to do is have the Township Board approve my signing it. Do we have a motion to approve me to sign it?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Okay.
second.
And we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Nays, hearing none, motion carried. Now we have the ambulance contract between Cottrellville and Tri-Hospital Medical Service Corporation for services in our township.
Thank you, Mary Agnes, and good evening, everyone. Really, the contract is somewhat of just a formality for you. We've been providing service to Cottrellville Township for a really long time, I think back in the mid-'80s when we came down here. What I discovered, and really it's tied to the next agenda item, which is the amendment for the recently passed ambulance millage here in St. Clair County. But as I went to send Mary Agnes the amendment to sign, I discovered we don't have a current contract with Cottrellville Township, so I can't amend a contract that I don't have. So I think what happened down in this area for many, many years, back, you may recall Mr. Bill Swang, the days of Bill Swang, we had ambulance authorities in the county, and the ambulance companies actually contracted with those ambulance authorities, and so that's where the contract rested. Well, in the early 2000s, the county essentially did away with the ambulance authorities and just said to the ambulance providers, you go contract with the individual municipalities rather than through these authorities. And so we just, for whatever reason, never got a contract between Cottrellville and Tri-Hospital. We've been providing the service, and the contract really just formalizes what the practice has been for the past many, many years. So that would really be step one. I'm happy to answer any questions. The contract you have in front of you is the standard contract that we use. Tri-Hospital EMS serves a total of 26 municipalities here in St. Clair County. And this is the standard contract that we use with each and every one of them. So there's nothing specific or special about it for Cottrellville. It's the same contract we use for everybody.
I'm going to suspend reading it because it's several pages long. And now if you want to explain, we can do them individually. But
Yeah.
tell me what you want to tell us about
So-
the First Amendment.
So if you look at the contract that you're going to approve in just a moment, Section 3 of that contract talks about compensation to us for providing service to the citizens of Cottrellville Township. And right now, that contract essentially says that you don't owe us anything for providing that service. Where we derive our funds from is by charging the users when they use the service. With the recently passed millage back in August, there will be now funding available for ambulance services for the purposes of providing service to the local communities. Those funds will come back, they will be collected here in Cottrellville Township, sent off to the county, and then the county will then turn around and send it back to Cottrellville Township, and Cottrellville Township will then have to pay us those funds. And that amendment basically is an agreement that says you agree to pay us those funds when they're made available to you by the county. Does not require any funding out of your general fund at all. These are simply tax dollars that are collected as a part of the normal tax collection process. Again, they're going to the county and then coming back to Cottrellville Township, and then you would disperse them to your provider of service. And that's really all that amendment is doing. We're agreeing to that.
No money out of our general
No,
fund?
none. And the other thing I would tell you is you'll notice on the amendment, the amendment really is for a 4-year period because that's what the millage is for. The voters approved a 4-year duration of the millage, and at the end of that 4-year period, that millage will have to be renewed or eliminated, depending on what happens. I don't predict that far out. So, but if that millage goes away, then this amendment essentially goes away as well.
All right, we're going to suspend with reading the First Amendment, but let's work on the first one first. The regular contract is going to be dated 10/12/20 22, and it's the one that's in your packet, and I just need permission to sign that on behalf of the township, and then we'll talk about the
Mary
second.
Agnes, so I just add one, I'm sorry, I don't mean to
That's all right.
interrupt you. I just want to add one point that's probably important. On the document you're approving right now, just so you're aware, that does not have an expiration date, okay? The way the contract is worded, if you read it, the contract automatically renews after a certain period of time unless you want to modify it or we want to modify it, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to be going to meetings until, I would be at meetings every night trying to deal with 26 municipalities renewing contracts every couple of years. And so since the service really doesn't change, the contract just has an automatic renewal clause in it. I want to make sure you understand that. We're not going to do this every couple of years.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If another ambulance service comes into our county,
Mhm.
and they want to also be part of this thing, at that point, do we,
You would then have to, you would essentially, because this contract is an exclusive provider right in it, so we are your exclusive provider. So you would have to terminate our agreement in order to do that.
Right.
But that would certainly be possible.
okay, I just want to make sure
Yep.
that we're not tied
Yeah.
up forever.
No, and if you read in there is, I apologize, I don't remember the time thing, but I want to say it's either 60 or 90 or 120 days notice for termination.
Okay.
I just don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but yeah, there's a specific amount.
All right. So let's take a look at this first ambulance contract for approval so that we can do the second one. Is there any objection to our signing this or having me sign this agreement on behalf of the Township Board for ambulance service?
If anyone's had that ambulance in their backyard, they know how professional, how good they are.
They sure are.
They've been in my backyard.
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If there's a mass calamity here, there's many different ambulances that come from different companies, how are they covered at that point if you're the exclusive?
So we are required by Michigan law to have mutual aid agreements with other providers. I mean, if we were to have a mass casualty incident, then we would draw mutual aid from other ambulance companies that surround our service area. One, by example, is Richmond, Lennox, MedStar to Macomb County, City of Marysville. We have written mutual aid agreements with those providers. And under those conditions, we would request them to come in and assist us in providing service to those events.
And then you take care of them getting paid?
They would probably bill themselves, the
Directly
user.
to us?
Yeah,
Okay.
they wouldn't receive any funding from the township. They would bill the user of the service directly, or their insurance, right.
Even when they have a couple accidents, you'll see Richmond, Lennox down in this area. I've questioned Richmond, Lennox, what the hell are you guys doing here?
Yeah, we back each other up all the time. I mean, the reality of, you talked about staffing a minute ago, and quite frankly, we're all hurting for staffing. We all need more staffing, and so we rely pretty heavily on these mutual aid agreements to back each other up, because when you're dealing with life and death situations, it's not about turf or anything like that. It's about getting care to the people. That's the most important thing,
You
so.
just run out of people.
We do, unfortunately. If anybody's interested in being a paramedic, see me after the meeting, and I'll get you connected up, so.
All right, well, I would propose that we make a motion to approve this first contract.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Nays? Hearing none? We have an agreement with you, sir.
Outstanding.
Now, the next item is the first amendment. That's to take care of the millage that's on our tax bill that came in on August 2nd. I would make that motion to approve the First Amendment. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye now, just give it to us. Aye.
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 All right. No nays? Hearing none? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you need that signed tonight, or can I?
I'll stick around.
Okay, all right. All right. All right, the next item is our request for payment to PFM Financial Advisors LLC for completing the financial services for our annual disclosure report for keeping our bonding up to date. I think it was, is it $1,100 or $1,000? I forget.
I forgot too, but I think it's 11.
I remember. $1,100. That is something that we pay annually, and it's to make sure that we keep our bonding line in place when we have to borrow money for sewer or water or any kind of emergency like that. So I would so move to pay that bill. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye by roll call vote, please, because we're spending money.
Tom?
Yes.
Bev?
Yes.
Mary Agnes?
Yes,
Sherry? Yes. Carl's absent.
motion carried. Thank you very much. Request for resolution number 2029. That's for handling delinquent water and sewer utility bills, as well as setting up a payment plan to be accepted up until a certain date, which time the outstanding balances would be placed as a lien for charges on the next property tax bill for that particular parcel. We're just updating an existing one. The other thing is, we've added not only just doing it for the winter tax bill, but we're gonna take care of anything that's outstanding as of June 1st too. So, just so that there isn't so much money laying out there. I need a motion to approve that 22-29. I think we'll suspend with reading it because everybody's probably already read it. And I would make that motion.
I
Can I ask a question?
Did you support?
Yeah, but
Okay.
he's got a question.
Yeah, okay, any discussion, it would be now.
Right. So if somebody's delinquent on their tax bill, on their water bill, and they put a lien on their property, does it clear up when they pay their mortgage, not their mortgage, but their tax bill at the end of January?
Yep, whenever they pay the bill, if it's on their tax bill, it's taken care of,
All right.
yes.
It doesn't carry until they sell their house?
Oh, no, then, as soon as that's paid, then we send a release of lien to the county and they record that, so that it's off, okay? All right. Our next item, get a call for vote for that, please.
Tom?
Yes.
Bev?
Yes.
Mary Agnes?
Yes,
Sherry? Yes.
okay,
Carl's absent.
motion carried, thank you very much. We have a request for changing the November Township Board meeting from the second Wednesday, November 9th, to the third Wednesday, just for this month, the month of November, to November 16th. This is due to the general election that's happening on November 8th, and the schedule the day before our regular meeting date. So there's lots of preparation that has to be done for those meetings, and sometimes that election kind of poops out my girls. They get tired after being here 16, 18 hours, and then they have to stay another hour after the next night. So with everyone's permission on this board, if we can change that particular date, I would so move.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Any discussion? Any questions?
Somebody has to call me in the third week.
I'll call you every month. What are you talking about? Okay. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Nays? None? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, we will post it on the Township Hall door, and we'll put it on the new sign if we have it, and we also put it on the website, so. All right, number 9 is one of our add-ons. And that's a request by Deputy Treasurer Nicole Hart. She wants to attend an MTA Treasurers and Deputy Treasurers Conference on Tuesday, November 29th in Gaylord, Michigan. The cost is $300. I did ask her if she felt like sharing it with East China, because she's also the treasurer in East China. So we'd pay a half and she would pay half, and she didn't sound too thrilled about that, so.
She said she could make arrangements for some of it to be paid.
Okay, well, if the amount is 300, we would have to pay up to 300 if she doesn't get it organized. Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
and we have a support,
Not to exceed 300.
not to exceed 300, okay.
Yes.
You're gonna fix the motion for that through the second?
I did.
Did you?
It says estimated expenses, sometimes estimates run kind of high.
Okay, all right. This is spending money. All in favor signify by saying aye by roll
But
call
it's
vote.
not to exceed 300, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you just said you okayed.
Right, no, I was just making sure.
Oh, okay,
Tom,
Yes.
Mary Agnes,
yes.
Bev,
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
Carl's absent. Motion carried. Thank you very much. She's also asking to close the treasurer's office on Tuesday, November 8th because of the general election. She also participates and helps the clerk with, I think she's chairman, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Chairman of that committee to help you guys all do your voting. So,
And not too many people have ever come in because of the fact that
too
the
busy.
lines are,
yeah,
you know,
crossing.
yeah, well, the hall is
Yeah.
filled.
So if you have no objection to that, I would make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Nays, hearing none, motion carried. Number 11 is to request to approve the audit that we were just presented by the auditors regarding our status. Many of you were not here, but they were very satisfied with the way things went together, and we looked very healthy. So I would make that motion to approve
I'll second it.
the audit in the receive and file job. We have a second? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Nays, hearing none, motion carried. Thank you very much. We have public comments.
Nope, we have
What
the
about your
What?
announcement?
one announcement.
Okay, but don't we have public comments
Public comments comes next.
first?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, you're right,
G's before
sorry.
H.
Yeah, that's all right. Mrs. Jones, did you want to get up and talk some more? You know what I mean.
They shut up.
He doesn't do that very often.
I don't think I did, but okay. I would have said please.
Okay. The problem with that junkyard on, real close to us, would you like it in your backyard? I'd be glad to put it there. What's going on with it?
Well, we had to wait till October 1st, and now I'm waiting for the attorney to give me some direction here. I've made some suggestions. I haven't mentioned it to the board yet, and I'm not going to till I run it by the lawyer first.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get anything in writing
For what?
for him to put up a fence, do anything?
He's never answered any of my questions that I formally sent him, registered mail or certified mail and regular mail. And he had till October 1st of this year, which gave him a whole year to put the fencing up. He's using the idea that it was worded that he was to have till October 1st, because that was his, that would like 3 months into what he expected to be open for business. He's still not open for business, according to him. There's a lot of activity there. I'm getting so many complaints about the fires that he's having. I have a relationship with the fire chief. He comes and sees me almost every day. Something's happened the night before.
Yesterday, it smelled like tires burning.
Did it?
Yeah.
And the weather's been so nice to be able to sit outside, you hate to go out there and smell that, so, but you've got to be patient, the government moves pretty slow.
Oh,
But
I'm
please,
very much aware
we're
of
going to try
that.
and do
but,
something.
Before you agreed to him moving in there, was there anything that said he had to do, fence, anything like that?
There was a list of things, he put a site plan together, and the planning commission all approved it, subject to his, doing these certain things, and he asked for more time for the fence because he didn't think he'd be able to do it. So, I don't know he's come in and asked for adjustments to his building permit because he wants to lift the roof, And I told him, I said, you know, it's more important that you not lift that roof, that you put up that fence. You gotta show good faith to your neighbors in the township. It's falling on dead ears.
If it's not in writing before you approved it, I would say you're out of luck.
No. The planning commission it's a signed agreement between him and the planning commission. All we have to do is just figure out a way to get it handled.
Now, that agreement that they signed with the planning commission, is that available for her to read? And
Yeah, I've got it put away, but I can dig it out for you. It
just
just,
something for you to look at?
we can get it out of the building department and we'll show you, you know.
And what's going to happen if he does it?
Well, I guess we'll be closing him down. I don't know what else to do. I'm making some pretty serious arrangements right now, so.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I'll make a couple of
But the government, Mr. Roberts, just stand out, stay right there, honey. Stay where you are and we'll just let you talk.
You want a microphone, Mr. Robertson?
No, that's okay.
He was a teacher.
Another
It's
thing,
too bad that you
the
don't
families
have
on
one
Roberts Road
that you would
have told
pass.
us
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
there's all kind of noise at night, swearing, drinking, living out, coming from that area. And there are nice homes and there are nice people that live there. They're just moved there. Not good. They're partying at night, partying, drinking, swearing, everything. And they have just told me that there are half a dozen houses that live on that Roberts Road adjacent to the, or fairly close to it. So they're not good neighbors. He said October 1st, and the junkyard, if you will, is the same as it was 3 or 4 months ago, or they haven't changed.
Except
They
more
just
junk.
added more cars, more tires, more stuff, and more baloney of trying to push us to let them do this. And they're getting away with it. If October 1st was the first date you gave them on, we were here, close them down. And if they're not closed, $100 a month.
Well,
Fine, day, excuse me, a day.
well,
You
we
know,
don't have that kind of a
you
regulation,
know,
so.
You tell them one thing and they're shooting baloney, they're not following through
Okay.
with what you said. It's a dump, it's an eyesore, it's an awful front for the good people that have moved in recently and the older people. Nice homes, good families, great thing. I have it on my t-shirts, which I made up here a while back, a nice place to live.
Right.
Is this a nice place to live, looking at that?
No.
Look at the side of it, it's awful. When you look at it, it's a nice little community, and the allowed that was in there, and they just throw it right back at you. It's a dump, they're not following by the rules,
Right.
kick them out,
Okay.
or fine them every month, or
Well,
whatever.
this is America, it's not Russia, so we have to be careful how we do things. And he's not really open, so what am I closing down?
But Mary Agnes, she has I know Pat told me that there was an agreement for a certain number of cars, the fence, it's all in the agreement. There's gotta be some way to enforce this.
Well, there will be, but you have to go through the lawyer to do that.
Well, then we have to.
I can't do it personally, I can't
I
call
know
Tom
we
and
can't
say,
do it
come get your
personally,
truck
but we do have a
and
lawyer.
load this stuff up, and I don't care where you take it, We've got to make arrangements, and you've got to be patient. We had to wait till that date expired. Yes, sir.
Good evening, council. George Westergaard, I live directly across the street from the property. Joe Treadaway claimed twice now at the 2 meetings here that he was not open for business. We've had friends of ours call up the business. You could call up the number that's on the side of the building. They are wide open for business. Oil changes, brake jobs, whatever you want to have done, you can come in at any time. So I just wanted to forward that he's claiming that he's not in business to the board, and yet if you call up that phone number, he's wide open for business.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and then also, the burning, there's a 55-gallon drum that's laying out by the side of the road that's been burned through. It's been out there for several weeks. And when we see the incineration going on, it's usually at night, and it's usually black and smoky. So I don't think that's cardboard boxes going up. So I just wanted to forward that to you.
Yeah, well,
And now there's a house trailer moved onto the property. I don't know if somebody's moved into the house trailer, but it's a pretty good-sized house trailer.
Is it a camper or is it a house trailer?
It's, well, a mobile home, we'll call it that.
Mobile home?
I don't know if it would be considered a camper or,
Okay,
so it's just recent that they moved that in.
all right. We'll have to take a ride, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jackie Byer. I would like to say he is not in compliance with what we have come to the planning board committee last time, and this should be an ongoing old business concern, because there are avenues you can go through without even getting a lawyer. I know it would be better to get a lawyer. The EPA would not be happy because, as George said, Ellen said, this is bad for our health. I mean, it's not just because you want to sit out on a nice day, which we do, but we're ingesting this, and it's against the law to be burning this, so he's in violation of the law. And I do feel he should be fined for some of these things, and there are avenues we can take as citizens. That said, too, about the speeding, I'm wondering if we should have a traffic study. They're doing this now with HIDA and Harson's Island Bridge, that you can get a traffic study going. And I don't know how to go about it, but we could investigate that, because the speeding, the passing is ridiculous. And it's unsafe also. But I would say this fellow here, getting back to him, it's almost as he's putting it in our faces. He says one thing and does another, and sat for, 28 days until 2 days before this October 1st, doing nothing. And then all of a sudden we see him out there painting the front and putting up some potted plants, like that was going to. This is what he did. It's like he's just saying, go away, I'm going to do what I want, which is rather disconcerting for us. I think everyone wants to get along and have a nice community. And as far as either he complies or he should be fined by the township even. $100 a day, get it done. If you have to do it to him like that, I don't know if you need a lawyer, just say, we're gonna be fining you. I don't know if you can do that, but.
Well, you have to have the regulations. We're not a civil infraction township, so we can't write tickets like that.
And we don't have a police department.
That's
Can you
another thing we
amend
can-
anything like this? I mean, it's a start. This fellow obviously doesn't care.
He doesn't, and what we'll try and do
He
is,
doesn't care.
let's try and do something. All right,
Yes.
that's all I can promise, is that I can try.
As far as this agenda goes too, it says old business, unfinished business. We look at this as being real unfinished, so maybe we should put him in the future agendas, the collision shop on River Road, because then you would get more people here with maybe more insight, because many people called
Well, you
us.
guys have been saying the same thing every time you come. I know that there's a problem here. We know there's a problem. We're gonna try and work on it and get it taken care of. But I mean, if that
I think we'd like to hear
squeaky wheel gets
progress.
the most grease,
Yeah, that's just,
you repeating stuff, continuously about the same thing is,
but he says he won't do it anymore, or he'll do this and he doesn't. So we have to remind you, he hasn't stopped doing it.
okay, well, we'll do our very best. Okay. Anyone else?
I have something else to say about that too.
Okay.
Has anyone
Checked where he's dumping this oil. If he's doing oil changes, is it equipped for that? And if not, you know where it's going.
No.
Eventually into the river. Now, that's EPA.
That'd be a good spot to start too. If you call the EPA, they'll come down. They'll do an inspection.
Okay.
There you go. This is what we want you guys to tell us with.
Yeah, I was trying to do something good for the township a few years back, and I got called on. It's more than four buildings, and I almost got fined $30,000 for doing something for free. But they did come down. One guy called, and here they come. So if you think any of that's going on, call the EPA or Eagle. Is it Eagle?
Mm-hmm.
Eagle. Call Eagle. They'll send somebody out.
I never heard of Eagle.
It's
That's
the
a
new
new-
Michigan
that's the new
Department of
EPA.
Natural Resources.
Yeah.
They changed their name a couple of years ago. Okay, thank you, everyone. now we have received a letter of resignation from Carl Shabelsky. He was the gentleman that sits on the end, but it wasn't dated, so I've got to get him to date it. And then we're going to ask for, we're going to advertise for resumes for citizens to fill this position. But as soon as we get the letter dated and signed, then we will call a meeting and we'll accept his resignation, and then we have 45 days to pick somebody. So if you guys want to be on the township board, this is one time you don't have to get elected. You could just request to be on, and we'll review and see what kind of backgrounds that you have and what kinds of things you want to do, and we'll go from there. Okay? Any questions?
Right. That's what I was.
All right. Any board member comments? No? All right, then I guess we'll motion for adjournment at 8:21.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Come again.
Standing there.